Hello and welcome to Paper Plays Julie K.
Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out to see what I am up to. And today I decided to do a little video, kind of a craft along or craft with me type video. I decided to possibly join a swap in one of my Facebook groups, and we're just to create some circle embellishments. And I've already made a couple, and I just need to make a couple more. I'm thinking about signing up for 2 different partners, so I have 2 different sets here. And I'll show you the ones I've currently worked on, and then we'll go ahead and create 2 more together. And so I'll start with these ones. And for these ones, I use the Once Upon a Springtime collection, and that's from Graphic 45. And as you can see, I just layered up some different circles, and one of the requirements is that the embellishments needed to be, or the circle embellishments needed to be 3 to 4 inches, and so all of my bases are 4 inches. And so I just added just different bits and pieces from my stash. So there was the first one. There's the second one. And I believe one of the requirements is to have at least 5 embellishments on to the circle. And so I've done that with all of these. And so we'll create one more together using this paper collection. Again, that's the Once Upon a Springtime paper collection from Graphic 45. It's an older paper collection. And then I have this paper collection. Again, it's another Graphic 45 paper collection. And this one I believe is called the Time to Flourish collection. And both of these paper collections are older paper collections. I've had them in my stash for a long time. But I love both of them, and they both have a spring feel to them. And also part of the requirements for the swap was that it had to have like a spring theme. We could do whatever style or colors we wanted to, just as long as it was a spring theme. And so those are that other one, again, Time to Flourish paper collection. Before we get going, I just wanted to show you guys what I have off on the side of my desk that I might be grabbing from, just so you can kind of see what I'm starting with. I've played with both of these paper collections in the past, and so I had just lots of bits and pieces left over. And so I do have a pile of bigger sheets of this scrapbooking paper, but I also have some smaller bits in this little container that if I need to find something, I can grab from it. And then also leftover circles from when I was die cutting the other ones. There's just little bits and pieces in there. And so I did want to show you guys that. And then I also have a tray, and this tray was a little bit more full when I first started making them, but now I'm getting down to some smaller bits and pieces. But when I started making this project, I did grab a whole bunch of different things that I thought I might use on these, and so it just makes it a little bit easier than to have to get up every minute or 2 minutes to try and grab something. I just like to start with a little bit of a base of some different things I can grab from. And to make the last couple go better, I do already have them die cut out. I wasn't sure if I was going to record a craft with me type video or not, and I decided to when I got to the last ones. And so I'm just going to grab a couple of things that I might use for this one right here, just so I have a couple things sitting on my desk. My desk isn't long enough to have a whole bunch of stuff sitting here, but the little tray is fairly close by, so I can have easy access to it if I need to. So I think that's a good mix to start playing with. And again, the requirement for the swap was I had to have at least 3 to 4 inch circles. And so I did cut off my bases. You know, they are 4 inches. So I used 4-inch, they're Spellbinder cutting dies that I used to cut these. And so I did start off with some of the paper that I cut out. I also have a piece of chipboard for the middle. And I also like to put clean backs on my back side. So I do have another circle cut out to glue on at the very end. And then the other thing I did is I did create, like if you put a circle die inside of a circle die, you can create a nice little border. And so I did that with some cardstock. So that I'm going to glue on. And then I also cut out this piece of the paper collection and another little border to put around that one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue these together. And I'm just using, for this part, I'm using Eileen's Tacky Glue. It's kind of my go-to glue. And I'm just using my fingers to kind of help spread out the glue that's underneath the paper. And then since this little border piece is very delicate and small, I do like to use like a fine tip glue. And so I do have this one, Adhesive Tech Fine Line Glue, so I'm going to use that today. And I'm just going to go along and put a couple of dots kind of throughout the circle. And I just find it easy to have a little tweezer. Sometimes that helps hold things. Then I also keep a paper towel close by in case I have a little bit of glue seepage. So then I'm going to get, while this one's drying a little bit, I'm going to get this one also prepped and put together. So the next thing I'm going to do is start embellishing. I'm going to put these two pieces together. But again, for the requirements of the swap, we need to have like 5 different embellishments. And so I do love using like eyelash trim. And so I'm thinking I'm going to glue some eyelash trim. And this is just a scrap. And it looks like I have enough of this one. And so I'm going to glue some eyelash trim on the back side of this. Now I usually just use the tacky glue again. And what I'm doing is I'm just going to create a circle around the embellishment here. And I'm going to carefully lay down my eyelash trim. I like to try and, as much as possible, put as many of the hairs all going the same direction when I glue it down. Now, not all of them will go the same way, but I try and do as much as I can just so that way there's a lot of the eyelash hairs hanging outside of the circle embellishment here. And I just kind of carefully take my time and glue it down. So that's what my back looks like so far. And I do want to pop it up, and I often use, I don't have pop-up dots, but I often use this 3M tape that I buy at the hardware store. And it's just foam tape. So now I'm going to continue to embellish, and I did go ahead and die cut out this little banner flag out of yellow cardstock. It was a scrap piece of paper because I'm thinking I want to do that. And then also from the Graphic 45 paper collection, they did have some little sentiments, and so I had this one that says greetings. So I'm thinking that would look cute popped up on there, and then to put this on here somewhere. And so next I'm just going to go ahead and pop that on. I'm going to cut this down just a little bit to make it fit the back here a little bit better. So I'm not quite sure yet where I want to glue it or pop it up on here. So for right now, I'm just going to leave it just kind of free floating until I figure it out. I do know for sure I'd like to put some flowers on here, and I did grab a couple from my stash. I also have, if I want, I have a little butterfly I can add. I do have a few of these little sprays that I've been using on some of the other ones. I do have some of those left, so I could add that. I also found these little wax seals that I can use. And then here's just some little inside like flower stamen pieces, but I sometimes like to wrap these underneath the flowers. So I do have those sitting here too. And I also have a couple of these types of bead sprays that I could add to. So I'm thinking maybe if I want to add these, I've had these in my stash for a long time, so it might be kind of nice to use them up. I could set it there. Maybe put that on top of it. And I could build a flower or two over here. So I think that would be cute. You know, and again, we're supposed to use at least 5 embellishments. So if I do this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's at least 5. So then I know I can quit counting. But I could still add a couple of these things on here if I wanted to. So I think two of these, I have 3 of them, but I think 2 is enough. So I think I'm going to put those down first. And for that, I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue. I'm just going to set it right here in the corner. Just going to give that a second to dry, and then I'll go ahead and snip the base off once it's dry or it's solid. And I think while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put some foam tape on the back of this one. And then before I glue this down, I'm just going to go ahead and cut off the bottom parts of this little bead spray. And then I might put just a little bit dab of hot glue on this also. So I'm still trying to decide if I do want some bead sprays going up from here, because if I do, I would like to put those on next before I add any flowers. I do have some other pieces left over here too that I could try. So I think I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down. And I'm going to try and manipulate this one just a little bit because I don't want it to cover the little chicken or the little duck here. I think it's a little chicken. So I'm going to see if I can manipulate it just a little bit. I might have to cut it and adjust it a little bit here to make it go the way that I want it to go. So that's what that looks like. Kind of like that so far. So that's good. And then I usually like to run my fingers over it a couple of times just to make sure that it sticks down good. If it doesn't, then I like to use like glossy accents to help adhere it a little bit better. But these ones are some Primo ones I had, and they stick really well. So I do like those. This one did have this little yellow flower acrylic piece on it too that I could put somewhere if I want. But I think the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is take these little flower stamens, and what I like to do is just kind of wrap a few of them around the stem, and then I fold the stem back on itself right there, so then it holds it down pretty well. And I'm going to go ahead, I think, and then glue this one down. I'm going to cut this, a little bit of this one off, the wire piece, and so that'll sit right there. Then I have to decide if I want like a third or fourth flower or a couple little flowers on here. I do have these cute little flowers that I could add, or a couple of these. So that looks really cute, I think. And then I have to decide if I want to add anything more to it. Like I said, I could add one of these wax seals to it. I also have this little embellishment from the paper collection. Or I have a few left of these cute little butterflies that, you know, I could add that to the top of the flowers or floating around somewhere on here. So before I glue this down, as you can see, the butterfly has a little bit of glitter on it, and I'm going to go ahead and add some little pearls on top of that glitter, and I'm going to use glossy accents for that. Glossy accents you can use kind of as like a gloss finish on things, but it also works great for adding like smaller embellishments or heavier, smaller embellishments to different projects. And so I find it works well for small pearls. And so these are like the pearls that have the adhesive on the back, but I leave the adhesive on the sheet. And so it's actually the glue that's gluing them down. I just find long term that this sticks a little bit better. And so I'm just going to stick a little pearl in each of those spots. So that's what the little butterfly looks like. And the glossy accents does take a while to dry, so you want to be careful not to touch where you have the pearls until it's fully dried. But I've worked with it enough that I know that I can use my hot glue and just go ahead and glue this into place, and then I can just set it aside and start working on the next one. So I think I'm going to put it right there. I kind of changed my mind here. So I'm going to go ahead and add some hot glue to it. And just to make sure that that butterfly is going to stay, I'm going to put a little bit more hot glue in there very carefully, just underneath the wings. And I know it's really tough for you guys to see on camera, but I apologize for that. And so now I'm going to set it aside to dry, to let that glossy accents dry, and so that might take a few hours. And once that is dry, I will go ahead and I'll glue this down to the back side. I just don't like to do that right away, just in case this gets like dirty while I'm working on it on my project. So I always wait to do that till the very end. So I do have that cut, and I'll just do that off camera. But I wanted to show you that first embellishment. I really like how that one turned out. I think it's really cute. And so I'm going to clean up this little bit of mess, and then I'll be back and we can go ahead and do another circle embellishment using Once Upon a Springtime graphic 45 paper. So I'm back to work on my next circle embellishment with everyone, and this time I'm using the Graphic 45 Once Upon a Springtime paper collection. I'm going to go ahead and assemble it the same way that I did the previous one. I do have some layers that I cut out again using Spellbinders circle dies. I'm going to go ahead and set the base aside for the end. I have chipboard pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and glue those down, and I think I have to grab a different chipboard base because I grabbed the wrong one. So I'll have to go grab that one. But these ones will get glued down on here. It looks like I grabbed a whole bunch of the wrong ones. But so I'll do that off camera. But this will get glued down to chipboard, and I'll glue that on top of it. This will also get glued to chipboard. And this will get glued on top of it. And same with this cute little chicken and the circle border around that one. And I will also go ahead off camera, and I'm going to go ahead and glue down the eyelash trim the same way I did on the previous one. I'm trying to think of which layer I want to put that one on. I'm probably going to put that one around the chicken layer, so I'll do that too off camera. And then I will be back to finish decorating the rest of it using some of these embellishments that you see sitting here on the side. So I did go ahead and attach all of my layers, and I also added the eyelash trim. And you can see there's chipboard on each of the layers. And this time around I went with 3 different layers. So now I'm going to go ahead and start decorating it. And the first thing I think I want to do is I want to add some flat back pearls, and I want to go around for sure this outer or this inner circle right here. I have some other ones that I added some layers like that, so I want to do that. So I'm going to do that around here, and I'll do a couple with you, and then I'll do the rest of them off camera and come back and decorate the next go around, because I don't think you guys want to sit and watch me glue down 20-30 of these on camera. That might get kind of boring. And again, I'm just going to use glossy accents. I'm just making sure here off to the side that it's running smoothly to glue these down. And I'm using these little flat back pearls again. And again, I do take them off of the sticky adhesive because I just don't trust that long term. So that's why I'm using the glossy accents to glue them down. And I'm just going to put one little dot up there at the top. For some people, I know you can use tweezers if you find that easier to glue each one down individually. And sometimes what I like to do is to make sure that they're somewhat spaced evenly. Like up here I did the top one. I'm going to go ahead and put a dab down here so they're opposite each other. And I'll go ahead and do the same thing on these 2 sides. So it's almost like I did the compass points, the north, south, east, and west. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep on doing that. So I'll put, 2 here and glue them down. I'll do 2 here, and then I'll go ahead and space them out again. So I will be back after I have finished gluing down the rest of the pearls. So I just finished gluing down all of those little flat back pearls around the border right there, around the cute little chicken or little chick. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I do have some Winka Stella, and I'm just going to go in and just highlight the flowers just to add, and this just adds just a slight bit of glitter to it, but it's flat. It's not like the stickles that's raised up. This just kind of adheres to the paper, and it just looks like it's part of the paper. So I'll hold that up so maybe you can see it on camera. It just sparkles just a little bit. And so I am going to just set that aside just for a little bit to try and give the pearls a chance to set up a little bit more, but we can work on another part of the embellishment. I do have this cute little springtime embellishment paper banner that's part of the Graphic 45 collection. And I did die cut out this banner piece. Again, that's using a Spellbinders cutting die. And I thought I could layer those two up. And then part of the Once Upon a Springtime paper collection, I did go ahead and cut out this little fairy from the collection. And I used this little stamp Fiskars paper edger scissors for that. And I was thinking then I would layer that up here on the side. And I'm thinking I want to put this one, this little banner sentiment up at the top somewhere on the embellishment. And then I have another little bead spray. And so I'm thinking that that would look really cute off to the side right here. You know, and have this up here and then this here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a couple flowers down here. So that's kind of my plan right now. Of course, plans can always change once you get going on things. But I can work on this for a few minutes or the next little bit just to see if those dry a little bit. And so I do think I want to layer this up a little higher on here. I do have two fairies cut out, but I think I like the little green one. There's a lot of this little pinky peach color going on in here, so I think the green one will be kind of a nice complement to that. And so again, I'm just going to cut off a piece of this foam tape for this one. It seems like the little pearls are doing well, so I think I can go ahead. They're not sliding around, so they're fairly well adhered. So I think I can go ahead and put this down. And I think just to make sure that it's going to stay well, I might just put a little dab of hot glue in there. So that's what that looks like so far. And then again, my next step is to glue down a couple of these little sprays right here. So I'm just going to give that a little bit to dry. And once that's dried, I'll snip off the bottom. And I'll go ahead and put a couple of flowers on. So I'm just trying to see what flowers I have here. I have some of these really cute paper ones. I also have this one. Some white ones. I have some smaller sized ones that I can play with. I also have these little fabric ones also. But I'm just trying to decide between these, one of these to put down there. Or if I put, you know, maybe a white and one of these little peachy pink colors. I'm not really quite sure what color you'd call this. It's not really pink, but it's not really peach either. It's kind of in between the two. But it's a nice little spring color, I think. So I do like both of those right there. So I think I'll use both of those. And I'm also going to add some of these little flower stamens again to it. I just like using these on my projects. I think it just adds a little extra embellishment. So again, I'm just folding over the little wire stem over the top of these because I fold these in half. And then I snip, you know, I'm going to put hot glue down there so it'll for sure stay, but that just adds a little bit extra stability to it, I think, when you do it that way. So So I think this is dry enough now that I can go ahead and snip off the base on these. So I'm going to do that. I'm just trying to decide how I want to layer my flowers on here if I want. So I think I'll put this white one right on top there where that glue, the hot glue is from gluing on the flower spray. So that can kind of cover that. And then I'm going to try to angle this one a little bit right there. So I'll go ahead and glue that. And while the glue is still drying underneath there, you can adjust these a little bit if you want. And I'm trying to decide here again if I want to add the butterfly. I think I like the butterfly up at the top. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I am going to glue on some flat back pearls on those also. Oops, I accidentally put a little too much on there, so I'm going to wipe that off. Start over. So that's what the butterfly looks like now. And I'm just going to make sure that these are glued on better. So I'm just going to use my tweezers to make sure that they're glued down into that crystal lacquer or the glossy accents. So I'm just going to hold that in place for a second here while the hot glue adheres. And then I can show you kind of the finished embellishment. And so there is the finished Once Upon a Springtime circle embellishment. Just hold it up close so you can see all the details. I really like how that one turned out. It's really cute. And again, I'll wait until later, and I'll go ahead and I'll glue on the back side of this. But I just want to make sure that everything is thoroughly dry before I do that. So again, I wanted to thank everybody so much for watching today. Hopefully you enjoyed the little craft with me session. And until next time, have a wonderful day and happy crafting.